Hi guys, welcome to the journey part 2. So this time around I got to interview my grandpa, who is my dad's dad, and it was a really good interview and a good opportunity for me to learn a few things that I didn't know about him already. And yep, so he is from Twin City, Georgia, and he grew up in the Jim Crow South. So I think he has a really interesting story, and I hope you guys enjoy listening to it as much as I enjoyed being there with him and just hearing what he had to say.
Certain things that I saw, I never forgot it, but I never mentioned that, we wasn't allowed to mention anything, whether it was right or whether it was wrong. Henry Pierce, Twin City, Georgia. My mother was the sweetest lady in Georgia. I didn't know my father. I was too small to know when my father passed. I wasn't big enough to know my father when he passed. When I was big enough to know, we lived in a big house. When I got big enough to know, what and what, myself, we lived in a big house, and the house set it off from the kitchen, like it had a little space between, in other words, the kitchen was set it off, still on the same, like a little walk between, and that's where the kitchen was, and we had on the other side there was all the bedrooms, and yeah. I think I went to school maybe 2 or 3 days, or maybe a week, and I didn't go back no more. She didn't press us, my mother, about going to school. Yeah, she could have, but sometimes it wasn't. The clothes and things wasn't sufficient. Well, I thought it was all right because you didn't know nothing else but the South, so I couldn't relate it with nothing else, nowhere else, because well, most of the people down there, when I come up, most of them, it was what they would call, most of the churches was come under Baptist, and you did according to the Baptist rules. A lot of them didn't, even though I was small, a lot of things that I saw as being young like that, they wasn't doing what they were supposed to do, and as them being a church person, as them being a deacon of the church or minister or elder or whatever, they wasn't doing what they supposed to do. They, they wasn't, they wasn't living according to their standard, Yeah, I was treated differently. First would come down to race, I was treated differently, my mother raised us that way, so that way, it just was a regular, everyday thing, she raised us different to know how to behave myself in the front of the white. I had to, I couldn't do what I wanted to do amongst the with the white like I did with my own peoples. They was, well, you didn't know nothing else, you know. So she raised us that way. It was, how would I say it? It would prolong my life, you know. It would prolong my life, you know. I wanted to go to the military so bad.
Why didn't you go?
No education. I was in Florida at that time. I think it was about a bus load or so. Well, it could have been 12 people on the bus or more, 12 or 15. And out of all the peoples that went on the bus there, I think they kept them all, except me. Now what they give me he told me, said, well, you go here and they give me a paper to go to, where to go to school at, but he told me, and now I felt a little bad then, but you know, certain things that, you know, you know, you're going to the military, you need to know. Otherwise, my education was zero. You know, it was zeros. But he gave me a letter to go, take this letter and go here and go to school. But, you know, I never did bother about, you know. If I would have had enough education, I would have wanted to be a pilot. That's what I wanted to be. Well, when I left Georgia, I went into Florida and stayed down there. I think the letter tells you about picking the oranges and, you know, stayed down there. But moving here, my baby sister came down there for vacation, and she was at me about coming back with her, and I said that I would come back up here. Would I come back here to stay just for like a couple of weeks, you know, and go back, you know. But then after I got here, my mother was living then, and they was at me so much about staying here, you know. So I wound up, and then I decided that I would stay here, you know. Then I got a job and went to work. Through by letters, my sister Katie lived on DeKalb Avenue there. A lot of my family lived there on DeKalb Avenue there. And my sister used to get my wife to write letters, but I didn't know who, you know, when I was in Florida or Georgia, it had to be in Florida. I guess it was in Florida.
So and Katie used to get
my
Mama
wife
to write you, write for her, to send to you in Florida.
Right,
okay.
right.
So that's how you didn't know who was writing the letters.
No.
Not at first. So when did you find out? When did you find out about?
When did you meet her?
When did you actually know that it was her writing the letters? When you came to New York?
Yeah, when I come to New York, then that's when I met her when I come to New York. When I used to visit my sister Katie there on DeKalb Avenue, that's when I met my wife there.
Okay. Now, when did you guys start dating? Well, I'll say it like you guys just said. When did you guys start courting?
Wasn't long after I came here. I would say most immediately. Like, you know, And I used to, when I went to visit my sister Katie, there on DeKalb Avenue, she would be over there a lot of time. My wife, she would be there at her son. You know, she just come. Which I think she lived it like they lived it on the same floor.
Okay.
And you walk right out of her door, right into her.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. So is that so Grandma Pearl lived like next door?
Right. Right. The same floor. Yeah, next door, like, you know.
Okay.
And we started coding soon, you know.
Okay.
She would kept looking at me. We really didn't have no wedding, not really. But we had a what we call a reception, but it wasn't what I wanted, you know. But it was money was tight then. Like, it wasn't like, you know, money was tight. Then my brothers, they had you know, all the big kegs of lung, and then they thing was different, kegs of beer and, you know,
yeah.
and all of that stuff, you know, and they had food. I don't know, Cole, I was wanting to pay something, but my brothers, they said no, they wouldn't let me. The few little dollars what I had, I was wanting to spend it, you know, into that, but he said no, they didn't. You know, they didn't want me to spend
That was good.
anything.
That was nice of them.
Yeah.
So they all chipped in for the reception and the little after thing you had.
Mm-hmm. We lived it in the same building where my mother lived at, on 188 Sumner Avenue. We lived it there, and I think that's where we had her, then she had got pregnant. And when she got pregnant, I think that why did she go to the hospital at? Commonly, because most of all of my family, most of y'all was born there, I think, except Randolph.
Mm-hmm.
Randolph, I think, he was born in the city.
Okay.
But my wife, I married the beautifulest woman in Brooklyn, sweetest woman in Brooklyn. Oh, I went through with so many different. Well, I started off digging ditches, promotion after promotion after promotion. Then I got up to they wanted me to be asked me 2 or 3 different times about being foreman, you know. So otherwise I was good with my hand and my mind, you know. But after the accident, you know, and then they went. I could have handled it, but the computers was coming out full force.
Yeah.
The computers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, technology. Yeah.
the computers that you can't, you know, I couldn't handle them.
Right. You had to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you became were you working in the shop for a little while before you retired? Was that your last stop?
Yeah.
Because I remember that. You were working in the shop for a little bit.
Yeah. In the Greenpoint section. I was coming up out of the basement, and what was it? How did that happen? I can't remember nothing. I went in this.
Philip said the steps collapsed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
did you break anything? Like what happened to you when the steps collapsed?
God, I don't forgot what happened.
You hurt your neck?
Yeah, neck,
The back.
back.
Oh.
Yeah, cause you was out of work for a good little while, but you thought that you would be able to go back.
Yeah.
But they
Never went back.
didn't really want you to come back. Yeah.
Took me a while though, you know.
Yeah. But you did eventually go back for a short. Did you go back for a short
I
time?
think I went back for a short, but
For light duty, and then they just really sort of pressured you to retire.
yeah.
Okay.
And I really liked it, the gas company. I liked it, the company.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah. I liked it, the company.
Yeah.
29 years, a long time.
Yeah, I think I started in what was it?
Philip said 63. I don't know if it's true.
No, he's right. Yeah, he's right, 1963. Oh, that was kind of, you know, that was pretty harsh, it was. Yeah.
Because you had worked all your life.
Yeah.
From young.
Didn't know nothing but work, so, you know. To do good towards old people, you know. I believe they do it anyway, but I wanted to say it, you know, do good towards old people,
Yeah. That's
and you'll be blessed. I think back home there is a place, nothing but fields. I don't know why I would like to go back to that place. I remember I was small. I must have been, well, I guess, you know, here. And this man owned this big old horse, big old white horse. The people's picking cotton. And he was on that there horse to make sure, all the way kept everybody busy. You know, kept everybody busy. I never will forget it. I think the name of the place they call Blundale, I think. That's the name of the place. But that in my mind, I will never forget that. I guess I never seen him on the horse, the man on the big white horse. He was like the overseer, like make sure that the people kept working. But I never seen him hit nobody, but he was there to make sure that
the people work.
the people work. Now if I had to go any place, it's a place now, I guess it ain't nothing much sticks and trees now, you know. But that would be the place that I would like to go to.
Throughout the interview, there's parts of it where he talks about a letter. So pretty much when he was out of work from the gas company, his company sent him to this adult school where he could learn to read and write. And in that school, he created, or like helps create, this autobiography about his life. And it pretty much just restates a lot of the things that we talked about in the interview.
This letter, I told her what I wanted, you know. I told her, and she's written it out. You know, like you said, and she's,
Yeah. But you can read a little and write a little.
Oh yeah, a little,
Yeah.
a little read and write a little,
Okay.
but not nothing, you know. And she told me then, she said, well, you keep this letter here, and you can show it to your grands and great-grands.
My life. When I was a little boy growing up in the country, I was happy with my mother. 4 sisters and 9 brothers. We all had lots of fun. My mother loved us very much. She worked very hard to see that we had plenty of food. We grew tomatoes, corn, green peas, and many other kinds of vegetables. As for myself, I like to play outdoors with the chickens, pigs, cows, and horses. I like to run after them. I also like to go hunting with my brothers. They were strong as horses. Sometimes my mother and older brother took us to town and brought us cookies, ice cream, and apples. I love Baby Ruth candy bars. It was so good, I can taste it now. When I finished second grade, I had to go to work. I was sad because I didn't like to work in the fields. I had to get up very early in the morning and work was hard. I picked cotton, tobacco, corn, tomatoes, pecans, potatoes, and other kinds of things that grew on the farm. When I was 12 years old, I was doing the work of an adult man. I worked in the woods cutting down trees. It was too hard. Finally, I left home when I was about 17 and went to Florida to live with my brother Floyd. He was so nice to me. I worked with him in the orange groves, picking oranges, grapefruits, and tangerines. We planted fruit trees also. In 1956, I came to New York. I started to work in a factory. I left there for more money and went to work at a well-built corporation. From there to Philip Dodge. I worked there for about 7 years. In 1963, I went to Brooklyn Union Gas Company. I worked there until 1986, when the stairs collapsed with me on them. I was badly hurt. I have been out of work ever since. I want to return to work so bad. The company is giving me a hard time though. Maybe with the help of God, they will let me return to work soon. I love to work at Brooklyn Union Gas Company. I am married and I love my wife very much. We have 8 children and I love them very much also. They are all grown. Now my wife and I can relax. I have 6 grandchildren, 4 of whom are in New York City. 2 grandchildren are in Columbia, South Carolina. They will be up here for Easter. I can't wait until they get here. We are all going to have lots of fun.
Know that I love my family.
Who's your favorite grandchild?
My favorite grandchild. I don't know.
Don't answer it. Don't answer it.
But my favorite grandchild. Grandchild? Oh, my children.
Like
his
your children's
grandchildren.
children. So like in my generation.
That's my favorite grandchild.
Oh, God.
Bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you.